Welcome to the ultimate guide for anti-inflammatory eating. My name is Healthy Emmie. I'm a nutritionist and a weight loss specialist, as well as the creator of Slim, where you can get custom meal plans, workout plans, daily meditations, journal topics, access to me, and more, so that you can lose and maintain your ideal weight on a plant-based diet. You can learn all about that by visiting the link in the description bar. To walk you through this guide of anti-inflammatory eating, I'm going to be sharing with you the category of foods that I want you to eat in order to reduce inflammation, and then the category of foods that we want to stay away from because they unfortunately promote more inflammation. Within the foods to eat category, there are 6 subcategories that we're going to be talking about today. The first subcategory is my favorite because it's just so easy to add these in and watch the effects of them happen within the body, and that is the herbs and spices category. The first spice that you can add in is turmeric, and turmeric contains curcumin, which is an active compound that is going to reduce inflammation. Now, let me give you a pro tip here. In order to absorb curcumin to the maximum possibility, if you eat it alongside black pepper, you are going to better absorb it and better get the anti-inflammatory benefits from it. You could simply add in turmeric to soups or to stews, or you could sprinkle it over your veggies before you roast them. Another little fun pick-me-up to have is a golden milk latte. So you can take a plant-based milk, something like a soy milk that's a little bit more creamy, heat it up, and then put in a little bit of turmeric, a little bit of black pepper, some cinnamon, and some maple syrup, and that can be your little treat that is actually anti-inflammatory as well. Also, if you are making hummus, throw in a little turmeric in there. Or if you already have hummus, throw in a little turmeric and mix it all together. The next spice to include is ginger. There was a study done that showed that individuals with arthritis, when consuming ginger, had a significant reduction in their inflammation. Ginger contains gingerol, which is the anti-inflammatory compound. Cinnamon is another spice to include. It contains cinnamaldehyde, which is an anti-inflammatory compound. Research also suggests that cinnamon has blood sugar regulating properties, so it's going to prevent you from having these intense insulin spikes, which can lead to subsequent inflammation. Now, my favorite way to incorporate both cinnamon and ginger is in the Pique ginger tea. This is how I start out my day every single day. It is my new obsession. My favorite way to incorporate ginger and cinnamon as of late to get these anti-inflammatory properties is through the Pique ginger tea. This is how I start out my morning every single morning, no matter where I am, because they come in these little individual packets, so you can throw them in your purse, so easy to travel with. You don't even need hot water. You can put it in room temperature water if you want to. But this is how I make sure that I am starting off my day on an anti-inflammatory note. Because sure, you could buy any ginger tea at the store, you could buy any cinnamon tea at the store, but it is not going to be the quality, the purity, or the potency of Pique, because Pique uses something called cold extraction technology to make sure that you are getting the maximum potency from the tea that you're having. Not to mention, this is the purest that you are going to find. The standards, the rigorous screening process that each batch goes through to make sure that there are no pesticides, there's no heavy metals, there's no toxins, there's no molds, is next level. It's the best that I've ever seen from a company, and my standards are extremely high. This has been my favorite way to incorporate ginger and cinnamon on a regular, consistent basis without having to worry about it. I cannot recommend this highly enough. I've also been ending my night every day with the spearmint tea from Pique, because spearmint contains rosmarinic acid, which is known for its anti-inflammatories, and specifically this polyphenol will help with protecting cells from damage, specifically brain cells. Incredible way to end the day, not to mention it is wonderful for digestion and reducing bloating. And if you use the link in the description, you can get 20% off Pique's best sellers and a free starter kit. I'm telling you, my mom, we have this stuff on repeat. So get it while supplies last. The next category that I want to talk about is fruits, specifically berries. I'm talking strawberries, blackberries, blueberries. These are all rich in anthocyanins, which is why they have such a beautiful, deep color to them. It's from that antioxidant. So the deeper the color, the more anthocyanins it has. And studies show that the consumption of berries in particular has been shown to reduce CRP, C-reactive protein, which is associated with chronic inflammation. My tip for you to make sure that you include these and get the maximum potency is to actually buy them frozen, especially during these winter months. Now, during the summer, if you can find local berries that have a beautiful, rich, deep color, go for it. But if it's in those winter months, I'm actually going to recommend to you that you get them frozen because these are picked at their peak ripeness and then they're frozen right away. Whereas when you have something that's been sitting for a long time, maybe it's been sprayed so that it can be preserved, it might not be as potent. So during these winter months, take advantage of the frozen and you can add those into your oatmeal, mix it in for a delicious sweetness and for the anti-inflammatory benefits. The next subcategory within fruits are citrus fruits, specifically because the vitamin C within citrus fruits is going to help with neutralizing free radicals. And that continuous free radical production out of control leads to inflammation. Vitamin C is also going to help with the production of collagen, which is going to help with preventing inflammation. And studies do show that the more vitamin C you intake, the lower amount of inflammation you tend to have. The next category is vegetables. Now, the first subcategory of this subcategory from the Department of Redundancy Department is leafy greens. When I ran track competitively, this is something that our coach would say to us after race day: get in those leafy greens to help with reducing inflammation, or if you were working off an injury, help get in those leafy greens to reduce inflammation. This is something I have practiced for decades. Leafy greens are a powerhouse. First off, they contain vitamin K, which is known for its anti-inflammatory properties. They also contain carotenoids, which are known to reduce oxidative stress, and they're high in polyphenols, and we talked about the benefits of those a little bit earlier. A very easy way to include these is to throw them into a bowl. If you're making a bowl from the Healthy Bowls cookbook, for example, throw a bunch in there. If you are making a soup or a stew or a chili, take a handful of spinach, throw it in there, it'll wilt down, you will not notice it. The next subcategory are the cruciferous vegetables. I'm talking about broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, kale, cabbage. What else? Broccolini, Brussels sprouts, the best cruciferous vegetable. Now, these can give you gas and bloating. However, they also, because they give you gas and bloating, is the same reason why they are very helpful in protecting you from becoming inflamed, because of the sulforaphane that is within these vegetables. Sulforaphane is known to upregulate our body's anti-inflammatory processes and to stop the production of cytokines, which are markers of inflammation. We've talked about herbs and spices, we've talked about fruits, we've talked about vegetables. Our next category is whole grains. I wanted to go over this because the category that we're going to talk about to avoid the refined grains, we sort of need a comparison here of, well, what should I have grain-wise if I don't just want to have potatoes and sweet potatoes as my source of starchy carbs? What can I have as a whole grain alternative? So we are going to choose grains that are high in beta-glucan. You may have heard me talk about beta-glucan when I talk about oats, because oats are high in beta-glucan, a type of soluble fiber that when I talk about it, I usually talk about how it helps with keeping you full, but also it helps with producing good gut bacteria that are going to produce what we call short-chain fatty acids. And short-chain fatty acids have been shown to inhibit inflammation. Now, the grains that are going to be high in beta-glucan are oats, brown rice, quinoa, barley, and these can be used as the base for your bowls. So you make up some oats or some brown rice or some quinoa or some barley, add in a bunch of vegetables on the other side of your plate, add in some legumes that we're going to talk about, add in a nice condiment, something like lemon juice or soy sauce or an oil-free hummus or salsa, mix it all together. You have a great anti-inflammatory meal right there. Sprinkle some turmeric on top. good to go. Next category are legumes, beans, peas, lentils, chickpeas. These contain saponin, which has been shown to reduce inflammation, but also the high amount of fiber is going to feed our gut bacteria and produce more of what we talked about earlier, those SCFAs, those short chain fatty acids, which are shown to prevent and inhibit further inflammation. Additionally, the high amount of fiber is going to blunt the insulin response for the other carbohydrates that we are eating, and preventing that insulin response is when we're not having those huge spikes, we are preventing future inflammation from happening. These are a powerhouse. If we look at chickpeas, for example, how can we incorporate those? We could blend that up with some lemon, throw in some ginger, throw in some turmeric. That is such an anti-inflammatory powerhouse of an oil-free hummus to use as a condiment. Another fun thing to do with chickpeas, you can put a little bit of maple syrup, a little bit of cinnamon on them, and you can roast them in the oven. Anti-inflammatory chickpeas. They become crunchy. They are a great snack or something to throw on top of your Buddha bowls. And the last category is sources of healthy fats. It is very important for me to incorporate this because, as we'll talk about with the foods to avoid, there are certain fats that are going to make your symptoms much worse. So here is the alternative for them. The healthy sources of fats are going to be things like avocado, nuts, and seeds. My favorite way to incorporate healthy fats as a CYA to know that you are getting the benefits that you need from those omega-3 fatty acids is through having 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed daily. I do recommend that you buy your flaxseed whole, you grind it yourself using a grinder. I have one on my Amazon storefront. If you go into the link of the description of this video, you'll see products mentioned, and there'll be my Amazon storefront, and on there's going to be a grinder that you can use for your flax seeds. Buy your organic flax seeds whole, grind them yourself every week, put them in the fridge, and then every day, add a tablespoon into either your oatmeal or add it into your rice. You can add it into your grains. You could add it into a dressing so that you can get the maximum benefits of these omega-3s. Now on to what we want to avoid. 3 categories of food that we want to avoid. First category are the ultra refined foods. If a food is ultra refined and it is a high carbohydrate food, it is going to spike your blood sugar and spike your insulin. The repeated giant spikes in blood sugar are what produce inflammation chronically within the body. So if we have processed white table sugar as opposed to an apple, because the apple contains fiber and water, it is going to blunt the insulin response and prevent you from having a huge blood sugar spike. Whereas if we have something like apple juice that has had the fiber removed from it, we're gonna have a bigger insulin spike because the fiber is not blunting that insulin response. And that chronic spike in insulin over and over again is what causes inflammation. Research has shown that high refined sugar intake is unfortunately positively associated with high markers of inflammation. Next category are foods that are deep fried or contain trans fats. Trans fats, unfortunately, have been shown to turn on the gene that is the pro-inflammatory gene. So there is the possibility, epigenetics, to turn on or turn off genes that are within our body. And certain foods will turn them on, certain foods will turn them off. Unfortunately, fried foods and trans fats turn on our pro-inflammatory genes. And studies do show a positive correlation between the consumption of trans fats and how much inflammation is within the body. So we know what our deep fried foods are. We know that it's the French fries, the fried chicken, the onion rings, the fried pickles, the tempura, anything that hits that deep fryer we want to avoid, but also those man-made baked goods. So the Entenmann's, the things that you see at the grocery store that are in the bakery section, 9 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10 are going to contain trans fats. Trans fats are man-made fats, which, like I said, turn on the genes in our body for inflammation. Trans fats also are the man-made fats that unfortunately, they increase your bad cholesterol and they decrease your good cholesterol. So saturated fats, which are the animal fats that are naturally occurring, things like butter, those are gonna increase your bad cholesterol, but they won't necessarily decrease your good cholesterol, whereas trans fats are gonna increase your bad cholesterol and decrease your good cholesterol, which is a wreck for your heart attack risk. Your heart attack risk, if your bad cholesterol goes up and your good cholesterol goes down, is through the roof, because we're looking at the ratio of the bad cholesterol to the good cholesterol. The purpose of good cholesterol is to help clean out the bad cholesterol. But if you have a ton of bad cholesterol and no good cholesterol, you are in trouble. So please, for the love of God, stay away from those trans fats, stay away from those highly processed baked goods that you find in the grocery store. Next category of foods to stay away from is dairy. Most people are lactose intolerant. I believe from Asian descent, it's like 99% of individuals from Asian descent are lactose intolerant. I believe in the Black population, it is somewhere around 80%. In the Caucasian population, somewhere around 55, and that's the lowest one that you're gonna find. Most people are intolerant to lactose. So if you are consuming something that you're intolerant to, what's the body gonna do? It's gonna become inflamed. So going for those dairy-free alternatives within reason is going to be a great decision. I say within reason because a lot of the dairy-free alternatives are really just gunk. So when I say dairy-free alternatives, I'm referring to non-dairy milks, but I'm not talking about the dairy-free ice creams and the dairy-free cheeses. Those are junk. But the dairy-free milks usually are okay to substitute with. Dairy has also been shown to be linked to autoimmune reactions. So if you do have an autoimmune disorder, the consumption of dairy is not going to be beneficial for that autoimmune disorder or disease. It is likely going to increase your symptoms of it. Things like rheumatoid arthritis have been shown, and just general arthritis have been shown to not be a good mix for dairy. And then the final category to avoid, I think this one goes without saying, is processed meats and red meats. They're high in saturated fat, like we talked about earlier with saturated fat, increasing your bad cholesterol, increasing your C-reactive protein, increasing inflammation within the body. If you want help with putting this all together, if you're not quite sure where to start, then I would highly suggest that you hop into Slim so that I can tell you exactly what to have with a custom meal plan, a custom workout plan. You don't have to worry about putting it all together yourself. I will do it for you. Link is in the description, and I will see you inside. If you liked this video, you are going to love the next video that pops up on the screen. It's going to be foods that help with boosting your metabolism. So check that one out. I love you, honeys, and I'll see you in my next video.